Square Enix acknowledges Expedition 33's success as inspiration for next Final Fantasy, as turn-based is still beloved by gamers. Who would have thought? Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is an absolute marvel in that it has shook the gaming industry. No one expected it to be so good, but it's already the leading contender for Game of the Year, with its impact regarded as an example proving AAA publishers wrong. Its success— oh sorry, I don't know why I'm reading like David Attenborough. Its success is impossible to ignore, and even Square Enix has acknowledged Clair Obscur as an inspiration for the future of Final Fantasy. Yeah, alright. I'll believe it when I see it, but sure. No one expected it to be good. Here's the thing. There was nothing in the trailers that made me think it wasn't going to be good. But because we hadn't seen a game like this since Final Fantasy X, we just didn't know. We didn't know if it could still be done. It's not that I didn't expect it to be good. It's that I was scared to let myself believe, because I'd already given up. I knew that Square was never, ever going to make a classic formula or evolved on the classic formula Final Fantasy ever again. You know, and it was just like, it was one of those things where you see this trailer and it's like, no, don't give me hope. I can't, I've already moved on. I can't do this again. That was, I think, the feeling a lot of people got from the trailer. And that's why I reserve myself to say that if it's mid, or if E33 turns out to be a mixed bag, I'm still okay with that, because at least the devs are trying. Because we all know that Square won't, that they never will. Now, E33 was so momentous and so impactful to the conversation around Final Fantasy that now Square might. Will they succeed? Probably not, but, you know, at least they're going to try. On X, a user named Use was part of a recent Square Enix shareholder meeting as an investor. Their original post on social media is entirely in Japanese, and there might be some inaccuracies, automatic translation, but they discussed wanting turn-based. They wanted Final Fantasy to be turn-based again. The investor said, "I had the opportunity to speak, so I expressed the opinion that I would like new releases of Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy to alternate. Additionally, I expressed the desire for a new Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy titles to be command-based RPGs, explaining this by referencing the shift in direction from 16 and the success of Clair Obscur E33 with the gained attention in 2025. Yeah. Here's the thing. If you just made a new IP and you called it by a different name and that had the ARPG stuff in it, give that to the modern FF fans. After all, they pull this same line all the time that, oh, you don't like the new direction of Final Fantasy? Well, there's all these other turn-based games that you can play, like Bravely Default, Octopath Traveler, Dragon Quest. Go play those. Yeah, well, you know what? I feel like they wouldn't be singing the same tune if the foot were on the other shoe, okay? Or if the shoe were on the other foot. If Final Fantasy went back to turn-based and they just made another thing that was ARPG, we could then say, oh, there you go. You want ARPG? Just play those other titles. Just do that. That's basically Final Fantasy, even though it's got none of the same things in it. FF16 was a lot more action-oriented than previous Final Fantasy installments, with its combat compared to action games like Devil May Cry. Unfortunately, Square Enix stated that sales for 16 did not meet their expectations, and among many fans, reactions were divisive due to the extreme change in gameplay. Yeah, well, the problem with Devil May Cry 16's combat is that it feels insulting if you're an OG fan. It doesn't feel terrible in a vacuum, but it feels like the devs are basically saying, you, the OG fans, you're not good enough. We want a different audience. But we also want you, the OG fans, to buy this game, so we're going to call it Final Fantasy. That's why it feels worse than it actually is. You know, that larger context changes everything. As for how it's sold, yeah, I mean, the only numbers I've seen are it sold 3.5 million total. That's not great. And I looked at VG Insights, which covers like Steam statistics. It sold 700,000 on Steam. That's really bad. You said that Square Enix's response was that the next 3 years of the medium-term plan will focus on delivering truly interesting games to users, with many titles, including mid-tier ones. Okay, I mean, that should be a base... that should be a basic requirement or a base foundation of any game. It should be truly interesting. Otherwise, why the hell would I play it? That's whatever. Regarding the desire for Final Fantasy to return to traditional turn-based combat, Square Enix said, quote, "They are aware of E33 and consider command-based RPGs to be Square Enix's origin and foundation." For Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, Square Enix insisted, quote, "They value the command-based RPG genre and plan to continue delivering games in this style in the future." For fans disappointed by 16, this is fantastic news, as it means Square Enix intends to return the series to the command-based formula it made popular. Actually, it doesn't, with all due respect. We value turn-based RPGs and continue to deliver and plan to continue delivering games like this style in the future. This is a politician answer. That's just like, yes, that's like in government where they just say, I would like to thank the honorable speaker for his question, and then go on. Continue delivering games in the style in the future? Yeah, they already do. They already do. As in, they already make everything turn-based except Final Fantasy. They make Bravely Default turn-based, Octopath Traveler turn-based, Dragon Quest turn-based, your mum turn-based, but never Final Fantasy. And I don't think this really means anything, to be perfectly honest. I think that's just a politician answer. The next mainline FF installment will be the conclusion to FF7 Remake trilogy. Possibly 2027. Oh, I think it's going to be 2028. After that, here's hoping the mainline FF games do return to its more traditional turn-based roots, as both Persona and Clair Obscur show that turn-based gameplay can still cater to the masses and leave room for innovation. Yeah, and it's ironic because the reason Square stepped away, or what it seems like they stepped away from turn-based was to sell more copies, to sell more games. Well, how come FF16 and Rebirth both underperformed so badly and Persona 5 sold 9 million copies? Now, in their defense, Persona 5, I think, sold 1.5 million on launch back in 2016, and then over time has grown to 9 million. But there's a difference. Persona 5, from all accounts, from what I've seen, seems like it is a timeless classic. It seems like it's one of the must-plays. When it comes to these sort of anime turn-based games, JRPGs, it seems to be one of the biggest / most played ones. Like, if you're gonna play one, people are like, oh, either do Persona 5 or Metaphor. FF16, on the other hand, is not a timeless classic. It's not a must-play, and it only becomes more relevant as time goes on. It only fades to time, which is the sad truth for a lot of modern FFs, is they just basically, the anticipation is great. Is it going to be good? I mean, it looks expensive enough to be. Bang, here's the launch, flashy graphics, we fall for it every time, like... The flashy graphics get our attention like jangling keys over a dog, like, oh my god, the flashy graphics! And then we realize that it's all flash and no substance. And it's usually poorly written, unsatisfying, bloated, horribly paced, and a big bag of disappointment and broken dreams. So, and then after that first month of launch, it completely fades into obscurity and no one gives a shit. So... that's what Persona 5 seems to be, but this isn't. That's why I don't think Rebirth or 16's sales are going to snowball over time. Apparently 16 sold appallingly on Xbox. In fact, let me have a look at it right now. On Xbox, FF16 sold 22,000 copies. Oh my god. That's fuck, man. I actually honestly feel a bit bad for laughing about this. That's inhumanly bad. That is so bad. Okay, in its defense, right, look, I'll tell you what, man. I feel so bad for FF16 here right now that I'm going to attempt to defend it. Who the fuck plays JRPGs on Xbox? You know, Lost Odyssey came out on Xbox in like, what, 2008? Which was a time period when no one played JRPGs on Xbox. And maybe it's a bit different now, but... fuck. While Square Enix are inspired by Clair Obscur E33 and see its success as a reason to continue making command-based RPGs, FF17 is still years away with no news about it. However, for fans craving a return to turn-based combat, there are heavy rumors for a remake of the beloved FF9. Well, here's the problem. How many years have they been remaking 9? Like, I don't know, but I just keep hearing about this. We, to this day, still do not have a single screenshot of this game. We don't have 1 second of gameplay footage. All the footage that you've seen in any YouTube video is, I think it comes from the Memoria project, which is like a fan modders FF9 project, which, from what I've seen, is probably going to be a lot more faithful to FF9 than the actual Square remake is going to be. Knowing their questionable track record when it comes to remaking their classic games, I just get the feeling they're just going to change everything for the worse. They're going to take the original designs that everyone knows and loves, and they're just going to butcher them. They're just gonna make unnecessary changes. Just even if it's like stupid little shit, it's gonna be enough that you're gonna be like, why? Like, say, Vincent in FF7 Rebirth, when he transforms into Galleon Beast. Except Galleon Beast is purple. Galleon Beast is like a small Vincent-sized version of a behemoth from FF7. And yet when he transforms into that in Rebirth, suddenly he's like white. He's not purple. He's lost that basic iconic coloring. Why? Nobody knows. And it's one of those things where it's not a big deal, but, you know, at the same time, the devil is in the details. I get the feeling they're just going to do that with 9. They're just going to... the characters will be somewhat not unrecognizable, but you'll be like, why did they remove that part of that character's look? I love that part of their look. And the thing is, if they were planning to do the ARPG slot route for FF9 after E33, those plans are in the bin. They won't be doing that anymore. They'd be insane to do that. They would be out of their minds to, if you pick up FF9 Remake and immediately you're having to do like Dark Souls dodge rolls or like Devil May Cry dodge rolls and all that stuff with Vivi and Steiner, you'd be like, what is this? You know, that's going to be the reaction. So they've got to figure out some sort of evolved turn-based form for 9 Remake. I just don't know. But I think that brand trust in Final Fantasy is at the lowest it has ever been in its entire history. And for those who have been along for this entire ride, that's saying a lot, Sonny Jim. That's saying a lot. Because I think there's been an unholy trinity that has irreparably damaged the brand of Final Fantasy, even worse than it already was. Like, 16, like, has kind of killed any hopes people have for like new mainline original FFs. It's just like, yeah, we don't care about the OG fans anymore. Here's some Devil May Cry. Still want you to buy it though, so we'll call it FF. Dawn Trail has killed 14's MSQ. Because, you know, with all due respect to Yoshi P, 14 and 16 have put cracks in, I don't want to say his reputation, but there was an image that he was this god before, on par with like Miyazaki in the 14 community. I don't think they see him that way anymore. This is no disrespect to the guy. He seems like a really nice, cool dude, but people don't see him as someone who can do no wrong anymore. And, like, designing FF16 to play like a single-player version of 14 or an MMO was not a great call. Yeah, he's no longer infallible, and, I think something that really... I think the thing that actually hurt him the most was the article where he said that turn-based combat just won't look good in AAA graphics, you know. It's like, well, E33 was like, but what if it did? And it did, and it was amazing. And also, there was no foundation to this argument at all, because FF10 and Lost Odyssey both aimed for the most realistic graphics they could achieve in that time period. And they looked fantastic. But yeah, anyway, the unholy trinity that has brought down Final Fantasy's reputation is 16, Dawn Trail, and FF7R, Remake Rebirth. Those have destroyed people's faith in the MMO, people's faith in new original Final Fantasies, and in Square's ability to remake a classic game. It's sad. Remake and Rebirth have destroyed the memory of FF7. They've destroyed its legacy forever. Remake and Rebirth have destroyed the conversation around the original FF7 forever. It will never be the same because of that. And for me, that's why they are my least favorite. They, for me, are the worst Final Fantasies of all time.